back. It is another Thursday. So that is the Gambit coming to you live. Tonight we have the mighty Las Vegas Raiders and the woeful LA Rams, defending Super Bowl champs. Should be just one of those Thursday night footballs. I got my good buddy over here, Brian. Devin's not here tonight. He is out sick. He is back from Mexico, so he is back stateside. But Brian, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, Jay. When you said woeful, I thought maybe you said Wolford. But
he is the starting quarterback as of right now.
Exactly. So, but no, I'm doing good. Just glad to be here on another Thursday night. So,
absolutely, I'm glad to be here as well. Glad to have you. Glad to get into some of this stuff we got to get into. Man, just right off the top, the Rams, they go out and they make the waiver claim on Baker. I believe they had the number 4, number 5 Baker claim or waiver claim on the list there. So they didn't get too far. He didn't get too far down the list before somebody picked him up. And I think it was pretty obvious that the Rams were probably going to. What do you think about Baker being out there in the Rams? I know Wolford's going to start tonight. Looks like Baker's going to be active. So I'm guessing maybe, depending on the neck issue with Wolford, we'll see if Baker gets in there or not. But I mean, does it help anybody that Baker's there? Whether tonight or even going forward over the next couple of weeks.
it's possible to help somebody. It's just a shame that last year's Super Bowl champion has been decimated by injuries and to Cup and Allen Robinson, and then even outside of that, they weren't stock full of playmakers anyway. OBJ, of course, got hurt. Now he's still unsigned, and I don't know. It's hard to say. It can't get any worse. Let's just put it like that. But maybe Cam Akers gets an uptick of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what they did last week, and even though in a loss, they still put up a fight against Seattle last week. So, and I know a lot of that was Cam Akers, doing something that he hasn't done, all year. But I believe it was 17 carries, 60 yards, and of course the 2 touchdowns, which were huge for the fantasy side of things. But yeah, I mean that team has been injury bit. The bug bit them on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, because that's another one that we'll get into a little later. But Aaron Donald's going to be out as well tonight, so kind of interesting there. So
yeah. Well, little moving on to a couple other big injuries. I guess I'll just say the name and throw it to you and let you go and see what you think about these injuries. Let's start with Lamar Jackson.
That's obviously a big one from a fantasy perspective and real life. But that being said, Tyler Huntley played pretty well in his stead last year. So I'm a Steelers fan. I'm hoping there's a downtick from the Baltimore offense so my Steelers can win again this week. But at the same time, it's always a big loss when you have a quarterback to his abilities get lost from both fantasy and real life.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. What's going on there, Mr. Jamie? Appreciate you popping in tonight. Next one I want to jump on to is another quarterback, which, horrific injury of what we thought it was. Then we seemed like we got some decent news last week, but Jimmy G broke a foot.
Yeah, they say he's out. There is a remote chance, depending on how far they make the playoffs, that he could come back. But you're going to be relying on Brock Purdy, the rookie quarterback. But also they signed Josh Johnson during this week. And this is his fourth time to be with the 49ers. So he's a man. He's a Marco Polo of the NFL for sure.
Yeah, I think this is like his, 13th team or something like that, 12th, some crazy number. I'm not even sure. I had to go and look and see what he, who he was the other day. 36 years old, I don't know. Brock Purdy also Mr. Irrelevant from the draft. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they use their playmakers. I think there's going to be a downtick for Ayuk. Maybe a little uptick, for Debo, if they go back to using him like he did last year. So we shall see there. Um, I heard, I was listening to our very own James Ferretti, Doc. I think I don't even know what his Twitter handle is right now, but going for two's very own injury doc, and he was saying, I guess they figured out that it was not the Liz Frank, so that was good news. So it should just need the time to heal for the foot there. So that was overall good news. Still sounds like it's probably going to be end of the playoffs. So of course they've got to get through a couple rounds of the playoffs in order for him to come back.
A little tidbit on Johnson: he had back-to-back 3,000-yard seasons with Tampa Bay several years ago.
Yeah, and you just, as soon as you said that, it clicked, because me being the Tampa fan, I forgot that we drafted him. I want to say it was out of K-State, like back in 1941 or something like that. It seems like it was long time ago.
Yeah, it's back
he
when they
was
had
with
leather
Tampa.
helmets.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Well, what's going on, Mr. Patrick Harrison? Appreciate you stepping in here. Let's see what we got. What's Jamie got going on here? Baker Mayfield's ego has to be on the entry. Man, that is, I don't know. From what I heard, he asked to be released. So it is what it is. It's Baker Mayfield. We shall see. Last big injury that I wanted to touch on, and then I'll let you hit me with some others. Kenneth Walker. Not quite sure if he's going to play. Sounds like that whole backfield up there in Seattle has a bunch of injuries. It's like the Seattle backfield is the Rams football team. There's injuries everywhere in that backfield. And nobody wants to come out and say exactly what it was. Is it a jammed foot? Is it a twisted ankle? He was talking about, was it not Travis Homer, but the DJ Dallas the other day. And from what I heard, he said he had a torn or stretched ligament, but it was high. Basically, he just did all this diagram or explained all this stuff, and it was basically a high ankle sprain from the sounds of it. So, what do you think about this Kenneth Walker stuff? And is he somebody that you would still want to put in your lineup with the question mark of him playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that with that whole Seattle backfield. Walker is, I don't know. It didn't sound on positive for him to play this week. So I'm kind of thinking he won't. I'm just hoping it's not a long-term injury. But then in regards to who's going to play instead, DJ Dallas is hurt as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it actually could be Jones that played for Tony Jones, I think his name is, that played for the Saints a little bit over the last season or two. So
yeah, you got Tony Jones, you have
Travis Homer
back there, but Travis Homer has been like that third down back. So we shall see there. The nice thing for fantasy is that's a 4:30 game, 4:25 game. So we shall hopefully you've got somebody to play in his spot, and if not, maybe they'll give you hopefully you have the backup that's actually going to be starting if Walker doesn't, and you can plug him in. But yeah, so and the reason I brought up Walker last is because we are at the second and last of the two bye-mageddons, with New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, and Indy all on byes this week. I mean, I don't think any one of these offenses is the high-powered offense, for real-life football. But there are so many key pieces in these teams that we're not going to have, so we have to go and find those, Travis Homers or whatnots, in the background. Anything stand out as far as the buys, and then any other injuries that are key to you or your teams going forward?
Yeah, the buys are awful this week. I'm in the third round of Scott Fishbowl and just realized that I have 3 starting running backs on bye week. So I'm sure I'm not alone in that aspect.
Right.
I'm missing Antonio Gibson, Cordero Patterson, and also Aaron Jones. So I had to pick up Kenneth Gainwell as my RB2 this week. So it's an awful situation. An injury that I'm really intrigued by is Mike Williams. He practiced in full today, and I'd love to have him back for fantasy owners.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because the question the other night was about would you start Palmer with Williams in the lineup tonight? Against uh, the Dolphins.
I'm not sitting. I'm not going to sit to him just if Mike Williams is back. There's enough volume in that passing game to make them both relevant. I think we've not seen all year Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Josh Palmer, but who's to say where those targets go? So you almost have to start all three of them if you've got them all.
Right, right. And I mean, they throw the ball all over the yard, with Herbert back there. So that could be he could throw the ball kind of like what Mike White did last week, 57 times and still lose a ball game. But yeah, so man, oh man, that it's yeah, I agree, Patrick. These buys are rough. Very, very rough, especially this late in the year. So got some other good news yesterday. Well, it's at least good news for maybe one player. Davis Mills is going to be back under center. I mean, is Houston just like flipping coins to figure out who's going to play and what position they're going to play and who's going to be the coach? What's going on down there in Houston? I know you keep track of these guys.
Well, the worst thing about the Texans, yeah, maybe Davis Mills, but they can't keep Brandon Cooks or Nico Collins on the field. So it's it seems like to me, even though he was stocked down last week for me, he had a decent game. But Damian Pierce has to be even though he's been focused all year, he's even more of a focus of the offense now. So
yeah, and they've got a tough matchup going up against Dallas this week. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Again, almost with you talking about these buys, we're talking about these injuries, and then okay, well, we have a healthy back to play, and he's got just the worst matchup in the world. It seems like going up against Dallas, and nobody else on the field. So he's going to be the focal point. That's what Dallas is going to focus on. So yeah, it's going to be a rough one. So we talked about Brock Purdy, and who I said who I was trusting, and it's probably between CMC and Debo. I didn't ask you who are you trusting in that offense, and then are you as well looking at it going, okay, I don't think I can play Ayuk, or are you no, I'm going to be bullish and play Ayuk.
I don't think it's that much of a downtick from Jimmy G. I mean, we'll see. He's a rookie quarterback. He came in and did well last year, and he had started. I think he was a 4-year starter for Iowa State, so he's kind of an advanced quarterback in regards to skill set and all that. So yeah, I mean, definitely have a little bit of downtick maybe from Ayuk, but if you've been playing these players up to this point in time, including Kittle, you've almost got to, it's hard to find somebody that's a substitute that's a good substitute for him at this stage. So, I mean, somebody picked up in one of the leagues I'm in. Somebody picked up Kittle the other day off of waivers just because he was only on waivers because it's like a guillotine league where you have to drop your players if you lose one week or whatever. But he was picked up, so I think you have to trust him if you've been starting him because you're not going to find a great substitute to begin with. So.
Yeah, it's the it's the fantasy playoffs, right? We're getting down to the nitty gritty, and it's going to be rough. I haven't seen anything on CMC getting banged up. I mean, it's CMC; he's always banged up. But have you heard anything on CMC being banged up?
I have not. I mean, I know that he had been in previous weeks, but I thought I saw there was some stuff on NBC Sports Edge today about him, but I don't think it was as if he was going to miss the game.
Right, right. Well, I mean, and again, that's another one of those tough matchups for the running game. I mean, the Bucks aren't the best, but they are. I would say probably a top 5, top 7 team, at least again, or defense against the rush. They have been run on a couple times this year, but they are They are a pretty damn good rushing defense. So that's going to be my concern out there. So we shall see there. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Last thing before we get into some of these injuries throughout the league. What player? Let's use your Scott Fishbowl team for right now, because unfortunately I got knocked out already. What players are you looking? Because I know Scott Fishbowl's is already into the playoffs. What they got, like, is it next week? Is 2 weeks from now is their championship? What, week 16, 17, somewhere in that range? Same.
Yeah, week 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what players are you looking to try to pick up? For your push, and then of course for my push that my playoffs start next week. What players should I be looking for to go out there and get?
One question to ask about this is, in general, a lot of leagues trade deadlines have already came by. So if we're looking at lesser owned players, I picked up Kenneth Gainwell in a couple of spots today. He's he's lesser owned, but at the same time, he's got value in that Eagles offense. He has scored double digit points in, I think, 2 out of the last 3 games. So if you're looking kind of under the radar, I don't mind him. Zay Jones for the Jags is not a bad pickup. DJ Chark for the Lions is another guy that's had a nice game last week and is under owned. So those would be a few guys I'd throw out.
Yeah, DJ Chark. They man, that Detroit team is just, they are throwing the ball all over the place. They 40 something points last week. They've got a great matchup this going up against Minnesota. Minnesota has a lot of, but that defense is Swiss cheese in the back. They I think they're in the top 5 of allowed points to wide receivers. So that's that's rough. Yeah, the one guy that I was really low on to start the year. I'm starting to come around a little bit just because of his usage, and that's James Cook. Over there in Buffalo. I think Buffalo has finally decided that, enough is enough with Singletary. Consistently watched his snap share go down, and we're seeing James Cook's snap share go the complete opposite direction and go up. I believe he played one less. James Cook played one less snap last week than Singletary, and had more yards. He had more opportunity. 6 for 6 in the passing game as well. So, man, that's one. And then the other one that, kind of like what Patrick was saying a minute ago in the chat, CMC's injuries, it's that time of year. Of course, they've tried to, not play him as much, put him on pitch counts and things like that. But if that's a concern, Jordan Mason is probably the next up there. And then I do like this right here, especially in Dynasty. Man, if and he should be on somebody's roster, taxi squad at this point. But J-Mo, if he's out there, man, you better go get him now before somebody just slides right in there and snags him up. Yeah. So what do we got for tonight? What players do the Raiders have that are going to be out? Do we have any?
No, there's not to my knowledge. The Raiders are fully staffed. The one question they had was Josh Jacobs, whether he was going to play, but he's playing. So they seem to be pretty much in full health to me, as far as I know. Unless, of course, Waller, I'm sure, is still out, but
right, yeah,
he's still out. Moreau will be there, but other than that, to my knowledge, no.
All right. What about on the other side of the ball there with the Rams? What's going on over there?
Yeah, the Rams, main thing we know of is John Wolford's going to start at quarterback. Baker's going to be backing him up. Aaron Donald's going to be out. And there's one other injury.
Brandon Powell.
Actually, there's a wide receiver that was questionable.
Is that Brandon Powell, right?
Yeah, Brandon Powell. That's right.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. I haven't seen the final inactives on that, or whether he was active or inactive, but
right. Okay. Going through the rest of the league, we got Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. Neither one of them practiced today. Is that right?
That's right, and they're both trending out.
Oh, that's not good. You get your starting quarterback back, and then you lose to your two wide receivers.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
exactly. That's
not good
why
at
it's
all.
looking like Damian Pierce and nobody else there. But
Right,
it'll be interesting to see. It's not the first time they've been out without Cooks and Collins. So
right. We got Damian Harris and Jacoby Myers both did not practice. Now they play Monday night, if I'm not mistaken, right? They're playing Monday night against Arizona. So
that is
there's
right. Yep, I'm
okay.
glad you
So
mentioned that one.
still a little bit of time there. Keep an eye on those two. Um, watch practice reports for the next 2 days, of
Of
course, on
course,
those
as we
guys.
both know, part of the issue there is with them playing Monday night. Unless they are definitive going into the weekend, it's hard to put them in your lineups. So
Right on, right
whenever you're
on.
dealing with
Well,
last minute guys.
yeah, right. Hey, we got a little special little guest coming in right here. Look at who we got. Look at who we the big Pulowski. How we doing like that? Oh, you're on mute, buddy. Are you there? Try again.
Let's try now. Can
Uh-oh.
you hear me? Looks
There it is.
go. I wasn't picking it up. Good to see you guys though. Long time no.
Good to have you on,
Absolutely.
Zach.
Good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back to the Gambit, brother.
Oh yeah.
We're just going over some of these injuries, going over the injuries for the league this weekend. We got Traylon Burks. Looks like he did not practice. I'm leaning that he's probably not play. He just had that concussion, and it's now almost a 2-week deal on the concussions. I don't think anybody this year has made it back at the very DJ Dallas. We talked about him as well. Najee Harris popped up today with an oblique, or there yesterday he popped up on there with an oblique. How does that affect? Are you looking to go and get Warren right now if you haven't already? Zach?
Yeah, you got to. I mean, it's not a guy you're going to feel necessarily confident in with production, but it's something where volume will be there. It's not like anyone really looks at Kenny Pickett as the answer, where they're really going to throw the game through him. So, I mean, yeah, I expect it to be a high run volume through any of their running backs, regardless of if it's Najee or anyone else. Uh, yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Brian?
Yeah, it was a rough day for the Steelers in general. Along with Najee, Deontay sit out today, as did T.J. Watt. So, as a Steelers fan, I'm hoping Friday's a better looking practice report.
Can't argue with that. Yeah, as a Steeler fan, you definitely
Yeah,
want better than that. Yeah, no, I agree there. It definitely could
They're
get better news.
they look like they were going to win 4 games all year, and now they've already won 5. So I don't know. My hopes are not dashed just yet. So
Hey, I mean, Kenny Pickett, is he better than Aaron Rodgers? I mean, team records might say so. No.
exactly. So who knows? Haven't given up yet.
Oh, don't start rumors. Don't start rumors.
Oh no, that's Aaron Rodgers.
Trending to be
That's
out.
Aaron's job.
Yeah, he does do.
Go ahead. Sorry.
He does do a very good job at that. Looks like Courtney going to be out, or at least that way. Sounds like it should be a pretty good game. At least have the opportunity. Getting back into Ronnie Moore was not seen at practice. I think there was something with the Luke as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's not on our sheet, so I'm not but I could have sworn I saw something go across with Nuke. Have you seen anything with D-Hop?
I haven't as of yet, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at this point. It would feel par for the course with kind of just how this year's gone with Arizona as a whole and with D Hop there, where you know, it's it's never a certainty that he'll be on the field or that things are as you're hoping for if you have him or any other Arizona Cardinal in your starting lineup.
I did see Rondell miss practice yesterday, so I haven't seen the late afternoon practice reports pop in completely today, but I know Rondell missed yesterday. Like you said, any of those Arizona receivers, they've not been able to keep all of them. And once again, that is the Monday night game. So that's the worst thing about it. This is really the first day of practice for Arizona. And so it's kind of too early. For other teams that play on Sunday, it's not too early in the week to know about most of them. But being a Monday night game, this is day one of practice, so it's hard to tell still.
And those are Jamie.
Yep, and here's Jamie over here.
Those are to give you specific
Go ahead, Zach.
background to
Jamie
this.
over giving you hell.
Jamie sent me a video this morning from I don't even remember what the guy's YouTube is, but it's the same guy and he made a video today saying Christian Watson's the next Chase Claypool. And I told Jamie, look, this is the same guy that found my Scott Fishbowl draft and said I had this best Scott Fishbowl draft when I finished in the bottom 150 out of 3,000. So if his predictions are anything like that, that means Christian Watson's in the Hall of Fame here soon. So I'll take it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Let
I
me touch on these last couple real quick.
Continue.
Touching these last couple real quick. It looks like Mark Ingram is likely out for the season. Von Miller had successful surgery. TJ Watt and Deontay did not play or did not practice. So it sounds like there's a injury bug that's over there in Pittsburgh right now. Let's see. Mike Williams looks like he's supposed to be back, like we were talking earlier. Desmond Ridder named starter for the Atlanta Falcons. I think that's only good news for London right now. I think at least he'll be able to get the ball down the field. But I got a quick question right here from Roast. Let's see. Let's pull this up right here. And would you start Hines or Fournette?
Brian, what's your thought?
Is that Naheem Hines?
I'm assuming that's
Yes.
Naheem Hines. Yes.
I've got to go Fournette, surely. Just based on volume alone, I'm gonna go with Fournette. Even though they're sharing time over in Tampa, surely he got more value than Naheem Hines at this point in time. I think.
I want to say Fournette. You know, I have Fournette more than I have Rashad White across all my leagues, but I almost want to go Hines just based off of injuries and that kind of stuff around him. And, you know, I like Rashad White more than what Leonard Fournette's shown this year. So I don't know why it's a 50-50 split other than what they're paying Leonard Fournette at this point. I think Rashad's kind of shown, hey, I deserve the reps. And that's where I would probably go Hines realistically. I mean, the namesake or, you know, draft sake for where you took him, you probably want to lean towards Fournette. But I think Hines right now seems like more of a strategic and smart play there. I like it.
Yeah, I
Off
think
the
I
top
would.
of my head,
I think I would
I'm
lean.
missing something. Hines is in Buffalo, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I think I would lean. I mean, I'm not going to cut Hines if I have him on my roster, but I think to start, I would definitely be starting Fournette. I believe it's more like a 60-40 split last week with Fournette and White, and I'm a huge White fan, so yeah, I think I'm going to lean Fournette right now. Like I said, I'm not going to cut Hines off the roster, but I want to see what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks and probably into the offseason with Buffalo in that backfield.
I couldn't tell you were a big Rashad White guy based on those different banners behind you.
I'm a big fan of his too. That's okay, but yeah, like we were talking about in Buffalo, it's starting to be more of the James White, James Cook show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost a 50-50 split between Cook and Singletary right now, if not a little bit more. towards the Cook side.
I just hated that Hines trade. I mean, I was never been a Hines guy, but
Right.
I think Hines had more of a chance than, we didn't need a third running back in Buffalo to potentially get carries. For all fantasy owners that, had Singletary, that had Cook, you didn't need another name that could be tossed out there. It's just adding to the chaos. And I mean, there's enough of that already there.
Right on. Well, let's get into this. I got to preface real quick because I let Zach the show about 10 minutes before the show started. He was still at work. So thanks for making it on. Don't know if he's even really looked at the show sheet. So, Brian, we're going to start off with you.
We're
going to go to the stock now,
and
I want to know. All right. I want to know what your stock up this week is.
Stock up for me this week, Garrett Wilson. He's over the last 5 weeks, he's got a 470 plus yards receiving. Been doing exceedingly well. It's got a really tough matchup against Buffalo this week, so I don't love that. But as a rookie, he's really started to advance his stats, and so I'm big up on Garrett Wilson right now.
Yeah,
I love Garrett Wilson.
I love that pick right there. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm going to go ahead and give you mine real quick. I'm sticking on the same team, same side of the ball. Made Bam Knight. Bam Zonovan, Bam Knight. And I think true, even in the lineup, the coach staff has made it appear that they don't truly trust Carter. And he's getting the chances. He's taking it by the horns and taking off. He's doing it on the ground. He's doing it in the air. Here's something that I don't know if any other rookie has done this in his first two games, but if you take his rushing and his receiving yards, he's got 100 yards or over 100 yards in both of those games. The only thing the dude is missing is those TDs. So I don't know that he's going to get it this week with the Buffalo matchup, but man, stock up. That was either going 4th, 5th round in your rookie drafts, if he was even getting drafted, So I really liked him pre-draft. I've got him on a couple of teams, but I had to go and snag him up in a couple other leagues where he was on the waiver. So I really truly like him. See what he makes going forward. But yes, wham bam, thank you, man. Night. What do you got there? What do you got there, Zach?
So, I'm going with my green and gold. It's not Mr. Watson, because that's the obvious choice. I got to mix it up. I've been a Jordan Love defender for the longest time. And, everyone jumped on the hype train after about 5 minutes of gameplay late in a Eagles game that they were losing. And I didn't appreciate that after defending him against the same people for all these years. And suddenly I had to be the pessimist against him. But, a full game of Aaron Rodgers again, and everyone forgot about Jordan Love. But guess what? The Packers have seen enough they're planning to use his 5th-year option. They are wanting to get time with him the rest of this year. I'm still saying stock up. People aren't talking about him the same way as they were during that game as it was on primetime against the Eagles. But for me, it's still maintaining. The hype is there. I've done all the play-by-play breakdowns on Jordan Love from the previous seasons already. I have reason to be optimistic. He's been getting the first team practice reps most of the year. He's been building chemistry with these young options, obviously when healthy with Watson, with Dubs, with some of these guys. Lazard, he's about to be a free agent, so we'll see there. But in general, I'm excited for Jordan Love. I want Aaron Rodgers out of town. And it's not anything personal, but at this point, I want to be able to pay my QB less and see what we can get from Jordan Love. Is it a risk? Absolutely. But it's a mitigated risk. He's been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for all these years. Aaron and J-Lo have this chemistry too. It's not like this Aaron and Brett thing where there's tension and, kind of this animosity. They get along, and Aaron views himself as a big brother to Jordan. So he's been passing that stuff along. I want to see Jordan apply it. Trade Rodgers to the Jets. Trade him wherever. Get his salary out of Green Bay, and I will be happy. And plus, hey, we've already seen Christian Watson succeed with Jordan Love on the field, so It's a win-win for me.
Do you think Love starts after the bye?
I don't. As long as I think there's a playoff chance, whether it's 2%, 0.0001%, whatever it is, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to say, "Hey, I need to be on the field as long as we're not mathematically eliminated." I don't love to hear that, but at this point, we're going to lose one here pretty quick regardless. We have a tough schedule, so sure, go out there, show one more game. We'll probably lose regardless because our defensive coordinator is shit, and then Jordan Love can start the following week. But the important part there is also to remember we have all these opinions on LaFleur as a head coach, but if you ask me, we can't assess LaFleur as a head coach because he's never been able to be the head coach and then the team below him. It's been the head coach and the quarterback as like equal peers. And once we can get rid of Aaron, I think that's when we can truly see what LaFleur does with the team and with the offense. And Detroit will win the division. I don't even disagree with that necessarily. I mean, they got to get some more defensive pieces, but guess what? We know the Vikings will never play defense, so not really worried about them winning the division outside of another down year from the rest of the teams.
And Detroit's got the draft capital, so.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those poor teams.
Well, let me get you real quick. I'm going to tell you my stock down, and this any tight end not named Kelsey right now. Any tight end not named Kelsey. There are 3 tight ends in the league that you want on your team. But man, I tell you, it is so hard, even looking at the waiver wire, or you think you have a player, and then you got 2 for 7, and that's it. You're not even getting touchdowns. I think last week there was a total of 6 tight ends over 10 points, and like 6 tight ends that scored a touchdown, and only 4 of them were over 10 points. 2 of them in the Pittsburgh Atlanta game, both of the tight ends with Cam Hayward, and I can't remember the kid's name for Atlanta right now, but that touchdown, so they didn't even get 10 points, and then with the touchdown. So man, tight end position this year is done. What you got?
For my stock down, I'm trying to think. I mean, who is Brian's stock down? Or do we know? Brian, who's your stock down?
Okay.
My stock down is a surprise. It's Kirk Cousins.
Why? I mean, I love it as a Packer fan. Please tell me more on stock down for any Viking. I'll listen all day.
So I'm in realization that they've only lost 2 games all year, but out of the last 4 games, he's thrown 1 touchdown or less in 3 out of the 4. So as good of a season as he's having, his stock's a little bit down to me right now. He's not lighting the world on fire, even though they're still winning. And we all know every game comes within about 1 point, 2 points. They don't win by a lot. And I don't know. I've just got this feeling that as the season progresses and they get in the playoffs, they're going to choke just like he does on primetime all the time.
I got to go with my stock down being those fringe wide receivers. Not just one specifically, but the Devin Duvernay types. Those guys where we are, playing them on bye weeks or to fill in for an injury in the flex spots, and they might help you escape with the win. And yeah, you can hope for that in the playoffs as well. But to really make a title push, obviously there's a lot of luck involved. But at the same time, to make it through multiple rounds, you need consistency. A lot of those fringe guys this year, unfortunately, haven't been consistent. It's been 22, 28 points one week, and then it's 4 the next. And those are the types of performances and inconsistencies that'll bury you. Oh, cool. I made it into the second round and suddenly I'm playing in the 3rd place game. Hopefully I can get my money back. And that's where, depending on when your trade deadline is, I know some leagues do it where the format is until the playoffs start, you can make trades. Others do it where, a week or 2 or maybe 3 prior, you can make trades. But this is where I'm starting to be aggressive. Depending on where I've assessed my team is at, hey, let me make a push. Let me be aggressive with these moves. Let me not just go for namesake, but for sake of consistency this year. It's not just about the name, but you really do need consistency. You need a high floor to really feel like you can make it far into those playoffs. Because if you're depending on someone that's inconsistent, more often than not, you get buried in the playoffs.
My question of the day, we were talking about trades and
Well,
trade deadlines and stuff.
What were you saying, Brian?
Go ahead.
So my question of the day in terms of trades and trade deadlines is in your all's dynasty leagues, do y'all allow trades during the playoffs or cut it off at the end of the regular season?
I'm in I think I'm in 20 dynasty leagues. I don't think I'm in a single dynasty league that allows trades during the playoffs. We've all got a deadline. I mean, there's certain ones I disagree on when or where we should be doing the deadline, but I don't have any that we can actually be trading during the playoffs. And especially based off how most of the leagues I'm in, we have rules about how not to tank or to how not to just get rid of all your talent to help you get that draft slot. Yeah, the trade deadline definitely needs to be there because then they'll be helping someone each round of the playoffs. How about you though? Are you in ones where they don't have the trade deadline?
That was my question. That was the reason for my question. Yeah, there's one league that actually it's in its second year, and last year it allowed trades throughout the playoffs, and they sent out a poll just yesterday, or the day before, asking what we all thought in regards to whether they ought to be whether they ought to be trading in the playoffs or not. So it just kind of piqued my interest as to what other leagues are doing. Most of my leagues don't allow trading, but that one does for whatever reason.
Be glad I'm not in that league because I would have been very vocal in that league chat when they asked about opinions on that.
Yeah, there was some discussion for sure.
Right. I want to
discuss. Discussion's an understatement, but go ahead.
Yeah, I want to back up before. I was going to say, I just want to back up to a question that we had earlier. Came on, Zach. And I asked Brian about this, and I threw a couple names out there. But going into the playoffs, we got the playoffs starting next week for the most part. What players are you looking to go and grab to make your final push, put you over the edge, that sort of leagues?
That depends. So depending on the position, depending on what I need, there's a lot of different ways I go. It depends on what kind of equity I want to spend as well. I mean, Jason, we were talking last night on the phone, and I was great. We had a big blockbuster trade that I was a part of in one of my dynasty leagues. I got Jonathan Taylor and Trey McBride, and the guy that's competing in the playoffs got Christian McCaffrey, David Njoku, and Calvin Ridley. And I mean, I have 3 first, and it's a 16-man league, so I'm focused on next year. But when I'm thinking of names I'm pursuing right now, I'm thinking of bargain buys. I'm looking at guys where, someone like Cole Kmet, he's someone I've been high on for a while. He's not the big flashy Kittle, Andrews, Kelsey. He's not that type of guy. But at the same time, if I feel like I need to upgrade at tight end from wherever I'm at, he's been getting enough targets, enough volume, and consistency relative to the tight end position, which is very ugly, where that's someone I could pursue for relatively cheap. Otherwise, obviously Christian Watson, I love him, but I wouldn't even bother with a name like that because guess what? He's a rookie. You're going to pay the rookie premium. There's a lot of hype around him, regardless of if you're me or someone else. I mean, shit, more people are charging more than I probably would right now because of all the hype around him. So I'm looking about the bargain buys, and I'm going for age. Who are the older guys? And obviously it's different with Cortland Sutton if he wasn't having a lingering injury and if his if Mr. Unlimited wasn't Mr. Super Limited, I might go after someone like Cortland Sutton. But I'm looking at these teams. Who's throwing the ball a lot? Mike Williams comes to mind, Keenan Allen. Who are these guys that are 28, 29, 30, maybe even 30 plus? They might only be an asset for these remaining couple of weeks, but are they going to make my team better? Are they going to make my lineup better than these other teams that are looking like they have either secured a playoff spot or are about to? And do I feel like I can win a championship by adding them? Those are the questions I'm asking myself. And also, am I breaking the bank to get them? And for the most part, the older they are, but if they're consistent with the production, you don't have to break the bank. Someone said, is Dawson Knox a bust this year? I also have to really quickly say, I think we can all agree on yes. But yeah, no, I don't have a whole bunch of specific names in mind for guys. But I'm looking at age and I'm looking at consistency. So like Adam Thielen, the pass offenses, or the Josh Jacobs is another one in a contract. Like that's a great buy now guy. Obviously the price is super high, but say the team is underwhelming of the owner that has him, that's the guy I want, because he's not selling for the Christian McCaffrey, JT, Najee Harris type of price. He's still going to be expensive based on how
Right.
great he's been,
Right.
but I'm not paying the same price as those other guys for that elite tier back. And he's producing like that this year. So that's where you need to value the production. And yes, there might be more future risk, but guess what? You win this year, you're usually paying for a lot of years of buy-ins. So that's where you got to figure out, is the risk worth it?
Yeah, you're right. A team's right there in
Right on. Yeah,
the
great
last week
answer.
or so. They're right there in that last week where they have to make the decision. Okay, is my team really good enough adding a piece to win the chip? If not, you got to be careful with your picks for next year's draft, I think. So
And
it's
you got
so
to be
hard to straddle that fence.
And you got to be
Right.
careful too. I'm in a few where I look at my team and I'm like, I am here. I'm 9-4. I'm 10-3. I'm 8-5, and I've got a playoff spot locked down. I'm feeling like I can win it this year, but then I'm realizing, wow, these two guys on my bench that I'm not even really putting in my starting lineup, that would be these great trade pieces, I'm not willing to get rid of, because guess what? Their names like Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, Christian Watson. I don't want to get rid of those guys because I see so much potential value where, yes, I could make a big splashy move right now, but that's where, is second place or third place to get my money back or maybe double my money worth it this year to feel like I have a dynasty where I can at least be doing that every year for years to come? So it's just relative to what you're content with. Do you need to win now because you don't necessarily feel like you have the core in place for a long-term contender, or do you feel like you're in a happy medium spot where you're like, hey, I'm essentially going to be a top 4 team unless literally every player gets hurt for the next 8 years?
Yep.
And so I'm usually always trying to say, let me be a top 4 team for as long as possible rather than going all in, risk it just for this 1 year.
Well, tonight's game, I'm going to start. Who wins and what night?
Brian, what's your pick?
I've got, I believe it was Raiders 24-14. I'm definitely going with the under. But I'm not sure the Rams can score 14, but I lined them up for that many anyway.
You know, I hadn't even seen the show sheet. Jason, you texted me after I had already placed a parlay for tonight, and I had already bet on this game, so it works out wonderfully. You know, I'm gonna go with we'll go
All right.
30-14 Raiders.
We'll get into your parlay in a minute.
Yeah, but I'm going 30-14 Raiders.
And I went Raiders as well, 27. Right. And I went Raiders as well, 27-13. I think we're all on that. Raiders are going to win this game. It's going to be a convincing win. I don't think any of us trust anything that's coming out of that Los Angeles offense. So
or their defense,
Megan's not here
or any of
again
it
tonight. Hopefully she's okay. Hopefully she'll be back in soon. Right. But this part of the show is actually oh, I like that pick right there. This part actually brought up by one of the viewers, Megan, and then Brian named it the Chrome Dome Parlay of the Night. And so I did not put my parlay on the show sheet, but I do have it written down. And here's the line for the night. It's Raiders are as of this morning. 6. The over under was 43.5. So as you can see, I am getting the Raiders in the under. I'm also taking Adams anytime touchdown. And I'm going to go ahead and take Jacobs with the over 87.5. But I have a quick question because they jumped out to me, and I went and researched and the Devontae Adams, the number for Devontae Adams on just receptions was 6.5. It seems low to me. Look at his numbers, just his targets. He's getting targets, and it's since week 8 is a line. He didn't get double-digit targets and only caught one. But that just seems super low to me. How about you guys?
I mean, that looks low. I mean, my concern with Adams tonight was, prior to even you reaching out or anything, when I was looking at the bets I wanted to place for myself, I was looking at it. I love Devontae Adams. I think he's the elite of the elite, but I'm more or less concerned about their matchup and how much Devontae Adams will be utilized, because I don't think the Rams will be keeping it that competitive. I don't know how high scoring of a game it'll be, but that's where, I was looking at one guy I necessarily want to be putting my money on, and I was looking more towards the ground game, towards burning the clock, because, hey, they're already up 2 possessions. And that's where, whether it's the receptions or the anytime touchdown, I kind of got a little nervous about Devontae. What are your thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the big thing is it's just simply how competitive can the game be? Because that's the worst thing about passing offenses is when they're so far ahead, they quit passing just to kind of grind the clock down the rest of the way. So I've got over on both, well, and we'll see it shortly, on both Carr and Adams in regards to yardage. But sometimes I'm questioning whether that's right. They'll have to do a lot of that work in the first half, obviously.
No.
And
what
that's
kind
exactly what I'm thinking is this could be a 21-0 game off the bat with 2 touchdowns to Devontae in a long run, with Jacobs. So I agree. It's gonna be. I'm thinking maybe like the first half is going to be entertaining. The second half is going to be normal ball.
Yeah.
Brian, what kind of parlay you got for us?
Well,
the
main things I've got, I did go over the yardage on Carr was, I think, 248.5 or something like that. He's gone over that number in every game but one in the last 5, and that number was, the time he missed was at 248. So I went there. I went on both over for Jacobs at 87.5 and Devontae at 89.5. And the one I was really stuck on, it didn't feel just right not going under somewhere, but I went ahead and went slightly over on Akers and his yardage at 46.5. I figure somebody's got to do something. I mean, it's not going to be a competitive game, but I still think somebody's going to get some yardage somewhere. So I went over on Akers. That's what I was leaning towards.
Oh, Akers, it pains me. I don't think Akers is good, but I do like the over 45.5. I hate to say it.
Yeah, you don't have to be good to get 46 yards when you're the only show in town and the rest of your offense sucks.
Exactly, especially when they got rid of D. Hendo.
Still sad they got rid of him. I mean, Kyron Williams, I guess, if he's any good, but I mean, he's not. And so Akers at least hit the number in two out of the last 3 games. So I think somebody's got to get 50 yards. Otherwise, it'll be even worse game than we anticipated.
Then we should have bet Raiders minus 20 or something like that.
Exactly.
No. You ready to hear mine?
Well, what do you got going there, Zach? Yes.
So I did two different ones. I did my little less risky one, which was it was a same game parlay plus 215 was the odds. I got Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown scorer and Raiders minus 9.5. So I took an alternate spread. I just said, hey, they got to win by 10 or more, and I think Jacobs will score one. Yeah, so plus 215. And then for my other one,
Nice.
I did Jacobs anytime, Raiders minus 9.5, and then I threw in an alternate rushing yards for Jacobs of 150 plus. I said, let's get a little risky with it, and that's actually at plus 1463.
Wow.
So, yeah, so just adding in Jacobs to run for 150 plus, it jumped from plus 215 to plus 1463. But I do think it's going to be a running. I think he's going to run like crazy. I mean, half the defense is injured, half the offense is injured for LA. I mean, I don't even know anyone anymore. I feel like I'm watching a CFL team or a USFL team out there. So, give me Josh Jacobs and give me 150 plus yards.
Probably the biggest injury
I like it. I like it a
in
lot.
the game is Aaron Donald being out. So,
And I mean, like someone like Ross, GGA, like he said, Jalen Ramsey is dog water. I probably wouldn't go that far with it, but that whole defense has looked rough. I mean, the Rams have just looked rough all the way around this year. Talk about an underwhelming follow up to being Super Bowl champion. But I mean, pretty much all three of the favorites for the NFC have been underwhelming.
yeah. I can't
Yeah.
remember a
Yeah.
repeat year after season. It's awful.
Well, guys, it's been a great night. We've had some great conversations about all of this. Let's go around the room one more time. Give your handle on what's going on, and start with you, since you are officially now the guest.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at the Big Pulowski. Otherwise, you can find me every Sunday morning on Going for Two. I host the Sunday morning pregame show with Gerson, and then also Ben and Jamie, and then we usually also have another guest as well. Yeah, we do that every Sunday morning. So if you do DFS lineups, you can expect the first 30 minutes of that show to be a rundown from G and just him giving you all his input. He does a lot of research. He wins a lot of money usually with his lineups, and he's usually trying to help you win money as well. And then on the second half of the show with Jamie, Ben, and myself, we are doing start sit questions. We are doing bets we like for those Sunday slates, and any questions that pop up in the chat, whether it's DFS or start sit or whatever else you have.
All right, Mr. Brian, go ahead.
You can find me at Vandegrad 92 along with the Thursday night show here. I do a lot of stuff for frequency's sake. Definitely every Sunday morning. I've got the DFS segment. I handle that. But when I can find time and all that, I do a Friday night DFS show. It's been a little bit hit or miss here lately, but it's called the DFS Deep Dive. So perhaps we'll get another episode or two in between now and the end of the season. If not, we'll hit it even harder next year. So.
Right on. Well, you guys can find me over there, Fantasy J77, on the Twitter machine. You can find me here on Thursday nights. You can find me on the Fantasy Intervention on Wednesday nights. Come chat over there. And don't forget, jump into the Discord. Go over to the goingfor2.com. It is the Discord's free. There's always great info coming out on the goingfor2.com. Got some great writers. We got some great analysts over there in the Discord. You get all three of us in the Discord as well. You can yell at us about the bad picks or bad plays we said to play. You can use for the great we throw at you every Thursday night as well. And we look forward to seeing y'all next week. All again for joining us on the Dynasty Gambit.